Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive. Today we are going to tackle the story of Lilith.
Lilith.
Yeah, Lilith.
Interesting choice.
She doesn't get a lot of press compared to the big two, Adam and Eve.
Right.
But we found some really interesting excerpts from this text.
Okay.
And it kind of flips the whole creation story on its head.
I like it already.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Sounds like a fascinating deep dive.
Yeah. So what I thought was so cool about this is that Lilith is like this...
Almost like this, like a...
Yeah, a vessel.
Yeah.
For exploring these big ideas like equality and freedom and,
Owning your truth.
Yeah, just being yourself.
Yeah.
And it's just a really cool way to kind of look at this story that we all think we know in like a totally different way.
A new lens.
Yeah. So the text starts out in Eden, right? The Garden of Eden.
Classic.
And it really paints this picture of like absolute paradise.
Oh, I see. Idyllic.
Yeah. Idyllic is a good word.
Yeah.
Lush gardens, perfect harmony. Everyone's just like content.
So like the ultimate vacation?
Pretty much. Like divinely crafted. Everything is just...
Perfect.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And in the middle of this paradise, we meet Adam and Lilith.
All right. So we're starting with the familiar.
Yeah. But here's where it gets interesting. They're not created separately.
Oh, why?
They're both formed from the same earth.
So like emphasizing their equality from the very beginning.
Exactly. They're partners. They're equals in this amazing garden that they get to explore together.
And I'm guessing that doesn't last very long.
You guessed it. Paradise can be deceiving, right?
Things start to shift.
Yeah, and this power imbalance starts to kind of creep in.
Okay, so how does the text portray that?
Well, it's subtle. It's
I'm
not like
in your face.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
But you start to see Adam kind of like taking on this leadership role.
Interesting.
Like he's supposed to make the decisions for both of them and guide Lilith.
So it's not portraying him as like this villain or anything.
No, not at all.
It's more like this is just the way it's supposed to be, like a divinely ordained hierarchy.
Exactly. Like this is the natural order of things.
Interesting.
So Lilith, who was created as an equal, starts to feel this pressure to conform.
I see. So even paradise has its limitations.
Yeah. And Eden starts to feel less like paradise and more like a gilded cage.
Oh, wow. That's a powerful image.
Yeah. The text actually uses that phrase, gilded cage.
I like that.
So you can imagine what she's going through, right?
Yeah, this inner turmoil, like this dissonance between what she's told and how she feels.
Exactly. Like she's supposed to be happy, but...
Something's not right.
Yeah, something's off. And she doesn't just sit back and, accept it.
So she pushes back.
Oh, yeah.
I like her already.
Yeah, she goes straight to the divine council and basically says, why am I subservient to Adam when we were both created from the same earth?
As equals.
Wow, so she goes right to the top.
Straight to the top. It's this like powerful demand for fairness,
Yeah, she's challenging the established order big time. So, how does the council react to this?
I'm on the edge of my seat here. Does she get the answers that she's looking for? Woo! I'm guessing not.
You'd think they'd be a little more open-minded, right?
Yeah.
You'd think.
But no, they basically shut her down.
Really?
Yeah.
So they doubled down on this whole hierarchy thing?
They totally reinforce it and say that like submission is what brings harmony.
Oh, so they're basically telling her, don't rock the boat, Lilith. This is just how it is.
Exactly. But Lilith is not one to just kind of like sit back and blindly accept things, right?
Yeah, she's not having it.
So she goes back to Adam, and let me tell you, the tension is thick.
Oh, I bet. You can practically hear the storm brewing.
Oh, totally. So they have this conversation about this harmony that Adam keeps talking about, and Lilith basically calls him out.
Oh, this is good.
Yeah, she's incredibly courageous in this moment, and she's like, my heart tells me a different story. True partnership can't exist when one person is forced to dim their light.
So it's not about control.
No.
It's about something much deeper. Yeah, it's about recognizing that true love, true partnership can't exist when one person is being stifled.
So Lilith is basically saying that Eden might be paradise.
But it's also a place where she has to sacrifice her individuality.
Your own voice.
Exactly. And that's not something she's willing to do.
Wow. I'm starting to see why this story resonates with so many people.
Right.
Even today.
It's about so much more than just a disagreement in paradise.
It's about these universal longings.
Yeah.
For equality and self-expression.
Exactly. And think about this by challenging the power dynamic in Eden.
Okay.
Lilith's rebellion has the potential to change the entire story of creation.
Whoa, hold on. That's a big statement.
I know, right? Because it disrupts this whole idea that obedience is the ultimate virtue, even in paradise.
That's huge. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's go back to Lilith and Adam.
Okay.
What happens next?
The text describes this like incredibly poignant moment.
This part really struck me. The text says, this part really struck me. The text says Lilith has this realization that she can't stay in Eden.
Really?
Yeah, the cost of conforming.
Of silencing her true self?
Exactly.
It's just too high.
Yeah.
So she makes this choice.
That echoes throughout history.
She chooses freedom.
Freedom.
I mean, talk about a pivotal moment, right?
Sure.
There's literally walking away from paradise.
I know, it's incredible.
So what's driving her at this point?
Well, that can't just be about being in charge, right?
Right.
It goes way deeper than that.
Okay.
It's about the freedom to be herself.
Okay.
To embrace her own thoughts and desires.
To own her truth.
Exactly.
Wow.
And it's a powerful rejection of this idea that her worth comes from obedience or fulfilling a predetermined role.
You know what's fascinating is that even Adam, in that final moment, seems to recognize her significance.
Oh, yeah, he does.
The text mentions his plea for her to stay.
Yeah.
Like acknowledging that paradise won't be the same without her.
He knows what he's losing.
He knows.
It really highlights how Lilith's presence disrupts this supposedly perfect order.
Yeah.
Her absence is going to leave a void, and that's a testament to her power.
That's so powerful. So Lilith chooses the unknown over the comfort and safety of Eden.
Right, this is a big deal.
What does the text say about her journey into exile?
Well, it paints this incredibly vivid picture of her walking away from paradise.
Wow.
Stepping into the shadows and the silence.
It's like the opposite of Eden.
Yeah, it's a stark contrast to the vibrancy of Eden, but it's also a world where she's free.
To be herself.
To be herself, to grow, and to discover her own strength.
I'm getting chills just picturing this.
It's a powerful image.
She's walking away from paradise.
I know.
Takes some serious guts.
It does, and it gets to the heart of what the text calls the seeds of rebellion.
Okay, I like that.
It's in the solitude of exile, facing hardship and uncertainty, that Lilith truly comes into her own.
So it's not just about leaving. It's about what happens after.
Right. It's about what she makes of that freedom. She's no longer defined by Eden or by Adam. She's forging her own identity, her own destiny.
That really connects with the idea of self-discovery that we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
Sometimes leaving a comfortable situation, even a paradise, is the only way to truly find yourself.
Absolutely. And the text doesn't shy away from the challenges that Lilith faces in exile.
Yeah.
But it also emphasizes how this experience empowers her.
Okay.
It's like the text is saying that true freedom isn't about comfort. It's about the ability to define yourself on your own terms.
I like that. So we've got this image of Lilith.
This strong, courageous figure.
Yeah, standing on the threshold of the unknown, ready to face whatever challenges lie ahead.
Ready for anything.
This feels like a pretty major departure from the traditional portrayal of Lilith, right?
Absolutely. This text is reframing her as this complex and inspiring figure.
Yeah.
She's not just a footnote in the creation story anymore.
Right.
She's a force to be reckoned with.
And her actions have the potential to disrupt the entire narrative.
It's
a really powerful idea that one person's choice to be true to themselves can have such a ripple effect.
It makes you wonder what would happen if she had stayed in Eden.
Yeah. Would she have been happy?
Would she have been fulfilled?
Right. Would part of her always have felt stifled?
Silenced?
Yeah, those are great questions.
That's what the text wants us to think about.
Like a challenge to the reader.
It is.
So we've talked about Lilith's choice to leave Eden, her journey into exile, and how her actions challenge the very foundation of the creation story. But there's another layer to this that I think is really important to address.
Okay, what's that?
The theme of equality that we touched on earlier.
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
The text doesn't shy away from the fact that Lilith's rebellion is rooted in her demand for equality.
Right, it's fundamental to her story.
Her challenge to the divine council is a direct confrontation of the idea that men are inherently superior to women.
And that challenge continues to resonate today, doesn't it?
It really does. We're still grappling with issues of gender equality, with the fight to break free from societal expectations and traditional roles.
Absolutely. Lilith's story, though, rooted in ancient mythology, speaks to the ongoing struggle for equality that continues to unfold across cultures and generations.
And it reminds us that the fight for equal rights and opportunities is far from over.
It's not over yet.
It's inspiring, really.
Yeah.
Lilith's story encourages us to stand up for what we believe in, to challenge injustice, and to demand equality even when it feels like we're standing alone.
It's about recognizing our own worth, and refusing to accept anything less than full equality and respect.
And that's a message that transcends time and place.
It really does.
So we're left with this incredibly complex and courageous figure.
Lilith, the rebel, the outcast, the champion of equality.
And the text makes it clear that her story isn't over.
Those seeds of rebellion have been planted.
And we're left to imagine how they will blossom, how they will continue to challenge the established order.
It's exciting to think about.
It's almost like she becomes this symbol.
An archetype
Yeah.
of those who choose to break free from expectations. Forge their own path, even if it means facing the unknown.
Yeah, and that idea of choosing your own path keeps coming up.
Right.
Do you think that's like the central message of this text? This idea of personal choice and its implications?
It's definitely a major theme. The text seems to be saying that our choices,
Even small ones.
even seemingly small ones, have the power to shape our lives and even influence the world around us.
It makes you think about the choices that we make every day, right?
Yeah.
Are we choosing comfort and conformity? Or are we taking risks, pursuing our passions, and living in a way that's true to ourselves?
And it's not always easy to make those choices right,
No, definitely not.
because sometimes it feels like those choices are a lot less dramatic than leaving paradise.
Yeah, exactly. But maybe it's not about the scale of the choice.
Right.
Maybe it's about the cumulative effect.
Exactly. Each time we choose to speak our truth, to stand up for what we believe in.
To pursue a dream, even when it's scary.
Yeah, we're planting our own seeds of rebellion, so to speak.
I like that.
We're contributing to a shift in the collective consciousness, challenging the status quo in our own way.
So it's like those little acts of rebellion can create a ripple effect
Yeah.
and inspire others to do the same.
Absolutely. And that's what makes Lilith's story so powerful.
So powerful.
It reminds us that even though she made this huge dramatic choice,
To leave Eden
to leave Eden, our own everyday choices.
can have a similar impact.
Right.
It's a really empowering thought.
It is. And it encourages us to really consider the price of conformity.
Okay, so what does that mean?
What are we sacrificing when we choose to fit in,
Okay.
to follow the prescribed path?
What possibilities are we closing ourselves off to? It makes you wonder what seeds of rebellion might be lying dormant within each of us, just waiting for the right moment to blossom.
Ooh, I like that.
What incredible things could we accomplish if we had the courage to break free from those expectations
Yeah.
and embrace our true selves?
That's the ultimate challenge, isn't it? To have the courage to ask those questions, to face those fears, and to make those choices even when they're difficult.
It's like the text is urging us to step into our own power, to embrace our individuality, and to create a world that celebrates authenticity and freedom of expression.
And it reminds us that the journey won't be easy.
Oh no,
There will be challenges, setbacks, and moments of doubt.
definitely.
But the rewards of living an authentic life,
A life that aligns with our values and passions.
yeah, those are immeasurable.
Well, I think it's safe to say that this deep dive has been a real eye-opener.
It has.
We've uncovered a new perspective on a familiar story, explored themes that resonate deeply with the human experience, and maybe even uncovered some seeds of rebellion within ourselves.
I know, I'm feeling inspired.
Me too. And I think that's the beauty of exploring these ancient texts and myths.
They offer timeless wisdom and insights that can guide us on our own journeys of self-discovery and empowerment.
So to wrap things up, I want to leave you with this thought. What choices will you make today? What steps will you take to nurture those seeds of rebellion within you?
Remember, every choice, no matter how small, has the potential to create a ripple effect. Embrace your individuality, challenge the status quo, and dare to live a life that is true to yourself. Who knows, you might just inspire a revolution about it. We're going beyond Eden
Beyond Eden.
with Lilith,
Yeah.
and we're really looking at what happened after
After the garden.
the Garden of Eden.
That's right.
And
We've got some really fascinating excerpts
yeah,
that give us a little window into Lilith's transformation.
well, I think it's always fascinating because we always hear about her leaving the garden.
Right.
But I've always thought, what was it actually like out there?
Right.
It wasn't exactly a luxury resort.
No, not at all. If you think about Eden as this place of harmony and warmth and, just abundance,
Yeah,
then you just flip that on its head.
right.
That's what the world outside was like. Wild, harsh, unforgiving.
So she goes from paradise to survival mode.
Exactly.
Wow.
It really was a test of her will and her resilience.
And the excerpts talk about, her initial experience was just this deep loneliness.
Right.
But it's more than just being alone.
Right. It's more than just being alone, because think about it. She chose this.
Knowing that it meant leaving everything familiar behind.
Yeah.
Every connection, every comfort.
Right.
That's a profound kind of isolation.
Wow.
One that really forces you to confront who you are at your core.
That's really deep.
Yeah.
And makes you realize how much courage it took
Absolutely.
for her to do that.
Yeah.
And the sources really emphasize, this longing for connection that she has.
Mm-hmm.
Is that just like a natural human need, or is there something more to it for her because of her circumstances?
I think it's both.
Okay.
Because you have to remember why Lilith was exiled in the first place. It was because she refused to submit.
Yeah.
She chose her own voice, her own spirit, even though it meant being cast out.
Wow.
So that longing for connection is also a yearning for someone to really see her,
Yeah.
to understand her rebellion, her defiance.
Okay, so we have to pause here for a second because this is where things get really interesting.
Okay.
Enter Samuel.
Yes.
Right.
So we have this kind of mysterious figure
Mysterious.
who, like Lilith, has also chosen rebellion
Yes.
and understands that price of freedom.
Right.
But the way they meet it's almost cinematic, like a moonlit river shadows dancing.
Yeah.
And suddenly he appears.
Like he emerges from her thoughts.
Oh, that gives me chills.
Wow.
So they meet and they start sharing stories, right? Finding some solace in these shared experiences of defiance and exile.
Right. They recognize something in each other.
Yeah.
Kindred spirit.
But Samuel's not just there for a late night heart-to-heart.
No, he's not.
He sees something in Lilith.
Yeah, he sees power in her.
Yeah.
And he tempts her with an offer to join forces with him and reshape the world.
So he's basically saying, let's team up and take over.
Essentially, yeah.
Wow. I mean, that's a pretty tempting proposition.
It is.
Especially when you're feeling like isolated and unsure.
Especially when you consider what Samuel represents.
Yeah.
He's not just any rebel. He embodies a specific archetype.
Yeah.
The challenger of divine authority.
Okay.
The one who seeks to overturn the established order.
So there's this like danger lurking.
There's a potential for destruction there for sure.
Wow.
Yeah.
But the crucial thing here is Lilith's choice.
Yes,
She says no.
she does.
And that's huge.
It is a powerful no because she recognizes what he's offering.
Yeah.
The power, the revenge.
Right.
But she also sees the potential pitfall of losing herself
Yeah.
in his vision.
So she's basically saying, thanks, but no thanks. I'm going to create my own destiny.
stack.
Talk about taking the road less traveled.
Right.
Wow.
And this refusal really marks a turning point for her.
Yeah.
It's a declaration of independence,
Okay.
a commitment to forging her own path, even if it means walking alone.
So she sets off on her own, and
Yeah.
that's when we start to see this transformation.
I mean,
It's not just surviving in the wilderness.
Right.
It's thriving.
Thriving. Yeah, she's becoming one with nature.
Yeah, mastering these survival skills, and the excerpts even talk about whispers of her name.
It's like a legend is being born.
Yeah.
And you also start to see the powers that be, the divine council probably reacting to this.
Yeah.
They seem uneasy.
Like, uh-oh.
Yeah, they're starting to realize that they might have underestimated her.
They banished her thinking she would fade away,
Right.
but instead she's becoming a symbol of something much bigger.
Exactly.
Wow.
Lilith's story starts to resonate with others who feel confined
Okay.
by expectations, and she becomes this beacon of hope,
Yeah.
a testament to the power of choosing your own path.
So even in her solitude, she's making a mark.
Yes.
This exiled woman
Yeah.
becomes this powerful figure.
Yeah.
The powers that be are starting to get nervous. Ooh, talk about a power struggle.
Yeah, the stakes are rising.
This is getting good.
It is, and we're just scratching the surface.
Cliffhanger. I am definitely hooked. Okay, so we're back.
Yeah.
I'm ready to dive even deeper into Lilith's journey beyond Eden. And before the break, we were talking about how she's becoming this like powerful figure, almost like a legend in the making.
Yeah, it's really fascinating how her story, connects with that human desire for authenticity and freedom.
Right.
Like she embodies that part of us that wants to break free from expectations.
Totally. Like she's this prototype for anyone who's ever felt like they don't fit in.
Right.
And her exile from Eden,
Yeah.
it's almost like a metaphor for the challenges we all face when we, step outside our comfort zones.
It is a reminder that true freedom often comes at a price.
Right.
Lilith's journey wasn't all, sunshine and roses.
Yeah, it wasn't easy.
No, there was Loneliness, struggle, constant adaptation.
But then there's this incredible growth.
Oh, absolutely.
When we see her like mastering those survival skills, connecting with nature, becoming this force of nature.
Right, and that's not exactly what the Divine Council was
Right?
doing.
They wanted her to disappear.
Right, they represent that established order.
Oh.
The rules and expectations that she defied.
So they're like, uh-oh.
Yeah, like, wait a minute.
This isn't what we planned.
We can't control this.
Okay, so we have Lilith, this exiled woman, becoming a symbol of freedom.
Yeah.
And the powers that be are starting to sweat a little bit.
Yeah, they're getting nervous.
Talk about a power struggle.
The stakes are definitely rising.
It feels like the setup for like an epic showdown.
It does.
But Lilith's journey isn't just about rebelling.
Right, it's about reclaiming her narrative,
Yeah.
defining her own purpose.
It's like she's saying, I won't be defined by the roles or expectations that are imposed on me.
Exactly.
I will forge my own path.
And that message resonates
Yeah,
across cultures and throughout history.
totally.
It's powerful.
So she becomes this beacon for others who are seeking liberation and a sense of agency.
Yes,
But it's also important to remember that she still carries those echoes of Eden with her.
she does.
So you're saying it's not just about rejecting the past.
It's more about integrating it into her present and her future.
Finding wholeness by embracing all of her experiences,
Exactly.
even the painful ones.
And that's what makes her such a compelling figure.
Right?
She's a symbol of transformation, resilience, and that ongoing quest for self-discovery.
And it's a powerful reminder that those whispers of her name, those ripples of her actions,
Yeah,
they can inspire others to embrace their own journeys.
absolutely.
But wait, didn't you say there was something unresolved about her connection to Eden?
I did.
Like, even though she chose to leave?
There's still a part of her that longs for it.
Really? So after all this, could a return to paradise actually be in the cards?
It's a question that lingers.
Wow.
Could true freedom for Lilith actually involve reconciling with her past?
Okay.
Finding a way to integrate the beauty and harmony of Eden with that wild, untamed spirit she's cultivated.
Now that's a thought-provoking twist.
It is.
It's like her story is reminding us that self-discovery is never truly finished.
Right. It's an ongoing process.
Yeah.
Of growth integration and maybe even reconciliation.
With the parts of ourselves we thought we left behind.
Exactly.
So what awaits Lilith on this next chapter of her journey?
It's a great question.
Could those echoes of Eden lead to a transformation even more profound
It makes you wonder.
than the one we've witnessed so far?
It does.
I am on the edge of my seat.
Yeah.
This is what makes these deep dives so fascinating.
It's the uncovering those hidden layers. Those
Yeah.
unanswered questions.
Okay, but before we get too lost in speculation,
Okay.
let's shift gears for a moment
Right.
and explore how Lilith's story continues to resonate in the present day. You know, it's amazing how Lilith's story, even though it's ancient, still feels so relevant today.
Oh, absolutely.
Like we're all on these journeys of self-discovery,
Yep.
trying to figure out, who we are, what we believe in, how to live authentically.
Right.
And in a world that's constantly trying to put us in these boxes,
Yeah.
Lilith's story is like this powerful reminder
It is.
that we have the right to define ourselves.
You have the power
Yeah.
to break free from those constraints.
To embrace our own inner wilderness, that
Yeah.
untamed part of ourselves.
that part that yearns for something more.
Yeah, but how do we actually do that?
Right.
It's so easy to get caught up in expectations
It is.
and lose sight of our true selves.
Well, that's where Lilith's resilience is so inspiring.
Okay.
Because remember, her journey wasn't easy.
No, it wasn't a walk in the park.
There was loneliness, struggle, even moments of doubt.
But she persevered.
She did.
She learned, and ultimately she grew stronger.
And that's the key.
So it's not about avoiding the tough stuff.
It's about facing it head on
Okay.
and using those challenges as opportunities for growth.
And you know what else strikes me? The fact that even in her solitude, Lilith created this ripple effect.
Yeah, those whispers of her name.
Right. They show us how our choices, even when made in isolation,
Yeah.
can have a real impact.
Yep.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into Lilith's journey,
Okay.
what's that key takeaway you want to leave our listeners with?
Well, I think Lilith's story ultimately reminds us that true power comes from embracing our authentic selves, even if it means defying expectations
Yeah.
and venturing into the unknown.
It's a call to action.
It is.
To embrace our own unique journeys.
Yes.
To find strength in our individuality.
And to never stop exploring who we are.
Beautifully said.
Thank you.
And as we move forward on our own paths,
Yes.
let's all remember Lilith's courage. her resilience, and her unwavering commitment to forging her own destiny.
Absolutely.
Who knows what wonders await us when we dare to embrace our own wild, untamed selves.
And perhaps even find a way to reconcile those wild selves with the echoes of our own personal Edens.
Ooh.
Creating a harmony that's both powerful and unique.
Now that's something to think about.
It is. All right, so you wanted more Lilith, right? What happened after she left Eden?
Yeah.
And, oh boy, things get intense.
Yeah, it really picks up right where we left off.
Okay.
With Lilith stepping outside those garden walls.
Right.
And starting her journey of self-discovery.
Okay.
But the transformation she goes through
Yeah.
immediately is just remarkable.
Yeah, the source talks about her power just exploding.
Right.
Like it describes it as a wellspring of raw power erupting.
Uh-huh.
It's like leaving Eden removes some kind of limiter.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
You know what I mean?
The source seems to suggest that her true nature, her inherent power, was somehow stifled
Oh,
inside Eden.
interesting.
But it's not all sunshine and roses outside those walls, is it?
Right.
There's this one line about her experiencing a quiet yearning in the middle of all this newfound freedom.
That's what I found so interesting, you would think.
Right.
After such a bold escape.
You know, she would be totally content,
Right.
on her own.
Right.
What do you think's behind that longing? Does the source give any clues?
It doesn't say it outright,
Okay.
but I think it's getting at something really fundamental about human nature.
Okay.
The need for connection. You see, even as she's embracing this independence,
Yeah.
there's a part of her that still wants to belong.
Yeah.
It shows just how complex her character is.
Okay.
This idea that we can want freedom,
Yeah.
but still yearn for connection.
Makes her more relatable, that's for sure.
Right.
And then get this. Adam shows up
Oh, yeah.
after all this time.
After all this time.
He just appears before Lilith.
Right.
And it sounds like he's been through some changes too.
Oh, their reunion
Yeah.
is a huge moment.
Okay.
The source describes Adam as bearing the weight of time,
Wow.
and you can just feel the regret.
Okay.
And this is where it gets really interesting.
Yeah.
He says that he
Okay.
aren't whole without her.
Wait, seriously. He says he's not whole without her.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. After all this time,
No.
it's hard to tell if he's being genuine
Right.
or if it's some kind of manipulation.
That's the big question, isn't it?
Yeah.
The source leaves it open to interpretation.
Really.
I think it's brilliant. We have to wonder,
Yeah.
is it real remorse? A longing to reconcile?
Okay.
Or maybe just a calculated tactic?
Right.
Maybe even something the Divine Council came up with.
Interesting.
The possibilities are fascinating.
Okay, so Adam's back,
Yeah.
and he's not alone.
Uh-huh.
The source mentions that he's basically there on behalf of the Divine Council,
Yeah.
and they want Lilith to come back.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I guess it makes sense with all the power she's got now.
Right.
But Lilith's not exactly rolling out the red carpet,
No, not quite.
is she?
What I find fascinating is her accusation.
Okay.
She says it isn't her.
That the council is really scared of.
Right.
But the idea of choice itself,
Yeah.
you see her independent spirit
Yeah.
is a threat to their control,
Uh-huh.
to what the source calls Eden's obedience-based structure.
So what does that mean exactly?
Yeah.
What does this obedience-based structure actually look like?
Well, the source seems to be talking about the idea that in Eden,
Okay.
everything depends on following a preordained set of rules and hierarchies.
Ah.
There's not much room for individual expression or disagreement.
Yeah.
Lilith, embracing her free will,
Yeah.
challenges the very foundation of that system.
So we're seeing this like cosmic clash
Exactly.
between individual freedom and societal control.
Yeah.
It's pretty heavy stuff.
Heavy stuff.
And then, just when I thought things couldn't get more complicated,
Yeah.
Adam proposes that they go back to Eden together.
Yeah.
But this time,
Mm-hmm.
on equal terms, he paints this picture of a paradise transformed,
Right.
built on respect and equality.
It's a tempting offer, isn't it?
It is.
The idea of a paradise that embraces individuality and freedom.
Yeah.
But could Eden really change that much? Could it handle such a huge shift in power?
Right.
The source doesn't give us easy answers.
Okay.
And that's what makes this part of the story so compelling.
Yeah. And it seems like Lilith realizes that deep down.
Yeah.
The source says she understands that going back to Eden, even with Adam's promise of change, would mean giving up who she's become.
Right.
It's not just about a physical place.
It's bigger than that.
It's about a whole system,
Yeah.
a way of life
Exactly.
that no longer matches her values.
And that's why her tearful goodbye to Adam is so poignant.
Yeah.
It's a recognition that their paths, despite crossing for this short time,
Right.
have gone in different directions, and there's no going back.
Wow.
Their parting really underlines the idea
Yeah.
that sometimes choosing your own path
Mm-hmm.
means leaving behind what you thought was paradise.
Yeah.
It's such a powerful moment, of self-awareness.
Right.
She realizes
Yeah.
that real paradise isn't about going back to a specific place, but more about being true to yourself, your values,
Right.
even if it means heading into the unknown.
It gives me chills just thinking about it.
Right.
This choice to forge her own path,
Yeah.
to stay true to herself.
It's not a defeat. It's more like a declaration of independence.
Totally.
And that's really where her legacy takes off.
Okay.
The source talks about how she becomes this legendary figure,
Yeah.
this symbol
Right.
that's been interpreted in so many ways throughout history.
Interesting.
To the divine council, she's a cautionary tale,
Oh, wow.
like a warning about what happens when you disobey.
Right.
But to others, she represents hope,
Okay.
a symbol of empowerment and resistance.
Yeah, that's what resonates with me the most.
Yeah.
This idea that she embodies the spirit of those who feel like outsiders, the ones who don't fit into the mold,
Right.
Have you ever felt that pull,
Oh, absolutely.
that tension between wanting to belong, but also needing to be true to yourself?
It's a universal experience, I think.
Yeah.
That's why her story still speaks to people
Mhm.
from all walks of life. Even
Mhm.
today, we're still wrestling with these ideas.
Yeah.
Freedom, conformity, self-expression.
It's like she's giving a voice
Yeah.
to the marginalized,
Yeah.
to those who challenge the status quo.
And speaking of challenging norms,
Yeah.
that brings us to another really cool point from the source.
Okay.
Redefining paradise.
Redefining paradise, what do you mean?
Yeah, the text really pushes us
Okay.
to think about what paradise truly means. Is
Right,
it
no.
just blind obedience?
Okay.
A gilded cage?
Uh-huh.
Or is it more about how you feel?
Mm.
A place where we can be our true selves,
Yeah.
even if it means going beyond the usual boundaries.
When I think about it that way,
Yeah.
it makes me wonder,
What's that?
what paradise am I holding on to that might actually be holding me back
Yeah.
from my own self-discovery?
It's a big question,
It is.
and one I think we all need to ask ourselves.
So if we zoom out a little,
Okay.
Lilith's legacy is all about,
It's about the courage
yes,
to break free from what society expects of us, to make your own path,
yeah,
even when it's uncertain or
Yes.
unconventional.
okay,
She's a reminder that real strength
Mhm.
doesn't come from fitting in,
yeah.
but from being brave enough to be yourself, even if it means standing alone.
It's a powerful message.
It is.
One that goes beyond time and place.
Absolutely.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into Lilith's legacy,
Yeah.
what are the key takeaways?
Now, what do you think our listeners should remember?
Yeah, what should they take away from this?
I think Lilith's story encourages us
Okay.
to embrace all those complicated parts of ourselves.
Right.
To acknowledge those desires for both freedom and connection.
Uh,
It's a reminder that choosing our own path might mean leaving behind what's comfortable,
yeah.
even a place we thought was paradise,
Right.
all to discover who we really are.
It's like she's saying,
Yeah.
don't be afraid to question the rules,
Yeah.
challenge the norms,
Uh-huh.
and define your own version of paradise.
Exactly.
And that message is just as important today
It is.
as it was thousands of years ago.
Lilith's legacy reminds us that true strength isn't about conforming.
Yeah.
It's about the courage to be ourselves,
Okay.
even when it means standing alone.
Right.
It's a powerful reminder that sometimes the greatest journeys
Mm-hmm.
start when we step outside the garden gates
Hmm.
and embrace the unknown.
Wow. It's amazing how much we got from just this part of her story.
I know, right?
We started out wanting to understand her after Eden,
Yeah.
and now it's this whole exploration of choice and freedom and finding your own paradise.
It really shows you how powerful myths and legends can be,
Yeah,
how they can make us think about ourselves and the world in such a deep way.
absolutely. And you know what? The source makes a good point.
What's that?
Lilith's story isn't just about her.
Okay.
It's about something we all experience.
Right, like that struggle to define yourself
Yeah.
when everyone else has expectations.
Exactly.
To find your own path, even if it takes you away from everything you know.
It's like she becomes a mirror,
Yeah.
reflecting our own need to be ourselves and to belong at the same time.
And I think that's why her story has lasted for so long. It's not about worshiping her,
Okay.
but understanding what she represents.
I get it. So she's not like a role model,
Not exactly.
but more like a guiding light
Yeah.
for anyone who's ever felt out of place or questioned the rules or wanted something more.
And I think that's where her real power is.
Yeah.
In recognizing that we get to decide what paradise means for us.
Hmm.
It might not be an actual place,
Okay.
but a state of mind, a way of living that's true to ourselves.
So as we wrap this up,
Yeah.
what's the one thing you want listeners to take away from Lilith's journey?
Don't be afraid to question the gardens you're in,
Okay.
the structures, the beliefs, the expectations that might be holding you back.
Right.
Lilith's legacy reminds us that sometimes the greatest discoveries
Yeah.
are waiting for us outside those walls,
Whoa.
in the unknown.
What a powerful thought.
Right.
And remember, this is just one interpretation
Yeah.
of her incredible story.
There are so many myths and legends out there,
I know, right?
just waiting to be explored.
Very cool.
To kind of unpack this story a little.
Yeah, it's a story that I think a lot of people, think they know.
Right.
But this deep dive is really going to take...
She's often painted as, this defiant figure.
Right.
Someone who, kind of bucks tradition.
Yeah.
But this source material describes her as the fire that refuses to be contained. Someone so powerful that even the gates of paradise couldn't restrain her.
That's powerful.
I get chills just reading that.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not just powerful imagery.
Right.
It's like a profound insight into the human spirit,
Totally.
Lilith embodies that drive that we all have, the drive for authenticity, for self-discovery.
Yeah.
Even if it means making tough choices and walking away from what's comfortable, what's familiar.
And the source material doesn't shy away from the cost of those choices either, right?
No, it doesn't.
It talks about Lilith's exile,
Yeah.
how choosing that authenticity can be really painful, even isolating.
Yeah.
But it also makes the point that betraying yourself, conforming just to fit in, that actually has an even higher price.
Absolutely. And, it's not just blind rebellion
Right.
with Lilith. This isn't just a temper tantrum. It's a conscious journey towards becoming a whole person, embracing all those parts of yourself,
Right.
even the messy ones that maybe society might reject.
Yeah. Have you ever felt that pull yourself?
Oh, for sure.
Like that need to break free from like what everybody expects you to be. Just
Yeah.
be like, this is me.
Yeah.
Take it or leave it. I mean, it can be terrifying, but there's also like this amazing sense of liberation.
Totally. That comes with that.
It's like stepping into your truth, and
Yeah.
owning it.
Yeah.
And, Lilith's journey, as this source material kind of lays it out, it's not about
Okay.
becoming some lone wolf
Right.
cut off from everybody. It's about recognizing that true connection can only happen
Okay.
when you're standing firmly in your own truth,
Yeah.
in who you are.
That's so interesting because it really sets up this like amazing contrast
Yeah.
with Adam,
Right.
who seems to represent like the opposite side of that. Yeah, totally.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, where Lilith is this untamed force, right?
Yeah.
Adam represents this longing for harmony,
Okay.
for unity.
Uh-huh.
He yearns for that deep connection
Yeah.
that, the source calls it a garden of shared dreams,
Ah.
which is such a beautiful image.
Yeah.
And he wants to experience that with Lilith.
Right.
But his desire, I think, is all tangled up with this need to control,
Yeah.
to shape things,
Yeah.
to fit his ideal of what it should be.
It's like he wants the connection so badly that he's willing to sacrifice parts of himself
Yeah.
and maybe even ask Lilith to do the same to make it work.
Yeah.
I feel like that tension between like holding someone close
Yeah.
but also letting them be free.
Yeah.
It's something we've all felt at some point in relationships, right?
Right.
Like that push and pull.
It's like this classic human dilemma,
Yeah.
And the source highlights it so beautifully when it describes Adam's love for Lilith as both tender and flawed.
Yeah.
It's like it shows us even the purest desires can get kind of twisted when we're afraid of losing what we hold dear,
Yeah.
what we care about.
So on one hand, we have Lilith, this wild, untamable spirit.
Yeah.
And on the other hand, we have Adam, this yearning for connection. That's almost like bordering on possession.
Uh-huh.
What happens when these two forces collide?
I mean, that's where this deep dive gets really fascinating because
Okay.
together, Lilith and Adam represent this eternal dance between freedom and connection.
Okay.
These two powerful primal desires
Yeah.
that often seem to pull us in opposite directions.
Right. It's like they're two sides of the same coin.
Exactly.
Like these essential parts of the human experience that we're all trying to balance.
Totally.
And what's so insightful about this source material is that it doesn't present these desires as being at odds with each other.
Right.
It says they are two halves of a whole, not because one completes the other,
Right.
but because they each embody aspects of the human experience that are essential and irreconcilable.
Right. You can't have one without the other.
Yeah, it's not about choosing one over the other.
Right.
It's about recognizing the value of both.
You take both.
So it's not that Lilith is right and Adam is wrong or vice versa.
Right.
It's about recognizing the validity of both experiences, the need for both independence and connection in our lives.
Absolutely.
And the source material makes this really compelling argument for seeing their separation not as a tragedy, but as a resolution.
Interesting.
As this recognition that sometimes the healthiest thing we can do for ourselves and the people we love is to let go.
Yeah. Sometimes letting go is the most loving thing you can do.
It's a reminder that true love isn't about erasing individuality
Yeah.
or forcing someone to fit into a mold.
Right.
It's about seeing and honoring each other's true selves, even when it means letting go of our own expectations and desires.
Yeah, that's hard though, isn't it?
So hard.
Especially in a world where
we're
constantly bombarded with messages about how relationships should be.
Totally.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, this deep dive is like really making me rethink some things.
Yeah.
There's so much to unpack here, both on like a personal level and in terms of how we navigate our relationships.
Yeah, it's like this story's holding up a mirror, right?
Totally.
We see ourselves in both Lilith and Adam.
Yeah.
You know, these struggles that they face are so deeply human.
It's true. And, you know, the source material is brilliant. Because it doesn't just focus on Lilith's, fierce independence and all that.
Right.
It also speaks to those of us who, like Adam, craves that deep connection, that feeling of belonging.
Right, because sometimes we want to be understood so badly that we forget to really see the other person.
Right.
You know,
yeah.
To accept them as they are.
Not as we wish they were.
Yeah, and that's Adam's journey in a nutshell, right? He has to learn to let go of that control.
Yeah.
To create space for genuine connection. Even if it means letting go of his own ideal. It's a lesson in acceptance.
Right.
Which is so hard. But the source material reminds us harmony is a gift, not a right.
Oh, wow. That line, hit me hard. It's so true. We can't force or demand harmony.
Right.
It has to be given freely.
Absolutely.
And that can only happen when we come to relationships with open hearts, ready to embrace who the other person really is.
And that acceptance, once you find it, can be so freeing.
Right.
You know, it allows both people to step out of those rigid roles and expectations and connect on a deeper, more authentic level.
So how does this ancient story of Lilith and Adam, all this talk of freedom and connection, how does it actually relate to our lives today? What's the takeaway for the modern listener?
I think one of the biggest takeaways is the power of choice.
Okay.
You know, both Lilith and Adam, they have to make choices, difficult ones, about what they value most.
Right, yeah.
And those choices shape their destinies.
Right.
You know, the story reminds us that we also have that power to define our own paths. To create relationships that honor our true selves.
It's almost like a call to action, isn't it?
It is. Yeah.
It's like the story is saying, wake up.
Yeah.
You have the power to create the life you want, the relationships you want, but you have to make conscious choices.
You have to choose it.
Yeah.
And those choices might mean, challenging societal norms, pushing back against expectations.
Yeah.
It takes courage to follow your own path.
Yeah.
Especially when it diverges from what everyone else is doing.
Right.
But the source material is very clear on this point.
Okay.
The path of self-discovery may be lonely at times, but it's a sacred journey.
Yeah. And for those listeners who really resonate with Adam's yearning for connection, what advice does the source material offer?
I think it reminds us that true connection can only come from a place of acceptance.
Okay.
Of letting go of the need to control
right.
or change the other person.
Mm-hmm.
It encourages us to build relationships based on mutual respect.
Yeah.
Where each person's unique qualities are celebrated.
Yes.
Not just tolerated.
So we're seeing that this story isn't just for rebels
No.
or free spirits.
For everything.
It's for anyone who's ever struggled
Yeah.
with the balance between their own needs and the desire for connection.
Right.
It's for anyone who's ever felt lost or alone.
Totally.
Or unsure of how to create truly fulfilling relationships.
And the beauty of it is,
Yeah.
what makes this source material so insightful is that it speaks to that full spectrum of human experience.
Right.
We all have aspects of Lilith and Adam within us.
Totally.
We crave freedom.
Yeah.
We long for connection.
Yeah.
Honoring both of those parts of ourselves. That's the key to personal growth.
Right.
And creating relationships that truly nourish us.
This deep dive has given me so much to think about.
Yeah, me too.
It's like peeling back the layers
Yeah.
of this ancient story and finding all these nuggets of wisdom
Right.
that apply directly to my own life, to my own relationships.
Yeah.
What about you, listener?
Yeah. What's resonating with you the most
Yeah.
from this exploration of Lilith and Adam?
What stands out to you?
Yeah. What do you see reflected in their story?
And maybe even more importantly,
Yeah.
what choices are you being called to make
Right.
to honor those different parts of yourself?
It's a big question.
These are big questions, and we're going to give you some space to reflect on them.
Yeah. Take some time with this.
But before we wrap up this deep dive,
Yep.
we want to leave you with one final thought. You know, it's amazing how these ancient stories can still feel so relevant today.
I know. It's like Lilith and Adam are dealing with the same stuff. We're still figuring out.
Yeah.
That's the power of these archetypes.
Right, right.
They tap into these universal, timeless aspects of the human experience.
Totally.
And the source material calls their story a testament to the sacred act of choice.
Oh.
And I think that's such a perfect way to sum it up.
Yeah.
Because we're not just passive players in our own lives, right?
Right.
We have that ability to make choices that shape our destinies, to create the relationships and the realities that we desire.
It's so empowering, right?
It is.
To remember that we actually have that agency.
Yeah.
That we don't have to follow some predetermined script.
Right.
We can break free from these societal expectations, those limiting beliefs, and forge our own paths.
Absolutely. And that's where the courage comes in.
Right.
Because making those choices, especially when they go against the grain, that can be scary.
Totally.
But the source material really emphasizes that it's in those moments of choice that we truly define ourselves.
This deep dive has made me realize that freedom and connection aren't about picking one or the other.
Yeah.
It's about finding that unique blend that works for you.
Right.
And maybe that blend changes throughout our lives.
Yeah.
Depending on where we are, who we're with.
Absolutely. There's no one-size-fits-all approach to life or to love.
Totally.
What works for one person might be totally wrong for somebody else.
Right.
The key is to be honest with ourselves.
Yeah.
To really tune in to our own needs and desires and then have the courage to act on them.
It's about asking yourself those tough questions, right?
It is.
What do I truly value?
Yeah. What makes me feel alive, joyful, connected?
What kind of relationships do I want to cultivate?
Right.
And then once we have those answers,
to
actually make choices that align with them.
Yeah. And sometimes those choices are going to mean going against the current.
Totally.
Going against what everybody else is doing.
Yeah.
But that's okay.
That's the essence of Lilith and Adam's story.
Exactly.
They each make choices.
Right.
Sometimes painful ones.
Yeah.
But ultimately, they choose to honor their true selves.
Yeah.
We've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive, from the complexities of freedom and connection to the power of choice and self-discovery.
So much good stuff.
I hope you found it as thought-provoking as I have.
Me too.
As we leave you today, dear listener, we want to circle back to those questions we posed earlier.
If Lilith and Adam represent two sides of ourselves, which aspect resonates most strongly with you right now?
What choices might you need to make to honor that part of yourself?
Wow.
Keep exploring, keep questioning,
keep choosing,
and keep choosing your own path.
Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for joining us for another deep dive.